Okay, start with the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call, please.
Trustee Trombley.
Here.
Trustee McFetrich.
Here.
Trustee Trombley.
Here.
Mayor Martin.
Here. Can we approve the minutes? Yes. Like a motion to approve the minutes of February 12th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
One or the other.
Is there any additions, subtractions, gazintas, times bys?
Good job.
Well, I didn't do all the math, but it looked okay.
Didn't count the words this time?
That's fine.
It was a lot of business done.
Yeah. All right. If there's no changes in the minutes, all those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Presentation of petitions, communications, notices. General question period for members of the community. Since someone is here tonight, we'll skip right into Mr. Tatro's report.
You've got a copy of my abbreviated report for the month of February. The snow's going, it's not hard to find something to do anymore. I've been tracking down junk, trash, garbage, whatever. I've talked to a few people, working with a few. The one you asked me about last month, went by there today and they started to move some stuff out. So as I find them, I try to take care of them. A couple of them I talk to the landlord rather than the tenants because the tenants don't seem to get the message where I put the onus on the landlord that they're responsible for their properties, and if push comes to shove, I'm gonna take them to court, not the tenants. I mean, chasing these tenants around is ridiculous.
Yep.
We don't get anything.
Well, that makes sense. Anyways.
Sometimes you don't get very much cooperation from the tenants.
No, and it's the same people up basically all the time, so, you know.
That was to the landlords.
Yeah. Other than that, I just finished my yearly training in Lake Placid, so I'm all educated again for another year.
I notice you're all suntanned, so.
Yeah. Other than that, it's fairly quiet, really, this time of year.
Any questions for Mike?
I do.
Yeah, I did 2 inches then.
The two properties on Oak Street, so the one where the fire was, they're gonna be doing like complete cleanup? Is it gonna be the owners now or there's another owner?
I'm not sure. I mean, someone approached me about purchasing the property and what would be involved, and they're not sure if they're just gonna, well, they're gonna clean up what's down, but whether or not there's something to save there or not, that's yet to be determined.
Okay,
So that's, right now, that's up in the air, but it's gonna get cleaned up one way or another.
okay.
I just don't know to what extent.
And the other property on Oak Street?
The other one, I keep trying, well, I called him last month, he never called. I called again today, left another message. So, working on him, but.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank
The
you.
So's building, so it gets uglier.
That's
Yeah, exactly.
kind of what my question was. I was questioning the Warlock property was, it looks like they're selling it. I didn't realize that. That's what I was gonna ask you about, so I guess you've answered it.
Yeah, no, they intend on cleaning it. Like I say, they're not sure if they're gonna keep part of the building, if it's salvageable, or if they're gonna take it all down. That's sort of been up in the air. So, till that's decided, and I kinda wish it would've been decided sooner when the ground was froze, because now we're in mud season, so any kind of work in there is gonna be ruddy and muddy. There'll be mud on the street. I mean, it's just a bad time of year to try that.
Yeah, and what's involved in the cleanup? Like, are we looking at,
Well, they
what are
gotta,
they looking at? Asbestos abatement or what? I mean,
I don't, that's up to the contractor. They, you know, if the owner does it, they don't have to do that, but if it's contracted out, then they're supposed to do that.
I see.
But that's, New York State labor law.
As here, the address here. We didn't get contact.
I don't know, I'll check around back.
Good catch.
Maybe it should be 1109? I don't know, I have
Oh,
to
yeah,
look.
that's true.
Did he call you, Mr. Mayor?
Well, actually, we got another one from that now, so we're good.
What are you talking about here?
Yes.
The
The
address.
address on the, I'll call the owner of the property, 1104. Thought you took care of all that.
Sorry,
Well, 4 to 9,
Catch that
you
one.
know, I'm getting old.
What
probably
about-
look out back, but there's, maybe you should stay there.
What about the old village hall on Church and Main? I know you sent a letter
On the corner?
on the corner.
I sent a letter, but
Have they ever responded?
no.
So what can we do about those broken windows and those pictures?
Well, I gotta wait 30 days, because it's a notice of violation, and if I don't, I'm just gonna issue the court appearance, give it to the court, and it's up to them whether they wanna issue a warrant for them. I mean, I really don't know what we can do. They, you know, I've never even talked to those people.
Oh, yeah, I've never
So
seen those
there's
people.
no phone number. I mean, they're out of Flushing, New York, so.
Yeah.
One thing that, one class that, I just want to mention this, when I was in Lake Placid, Safeguard Property Services, I'm sure you've heard of them, we've talked to them before, they service properties throughout the village. Well, they had a presentation there for half a day on foreclosures, zombie properties and all this and that. And I've got the brochure that they gave us on what they do, what we can do. As far as zombie properties go, they have to be in the grasp of the bank. If they're held individually, properties are held individually, it doesn't fall into that, so there's not much we can do. But they all advocate, and I know it's a hard pill, that on these properties that, like the one with the fence and so on and so forth, apparently, I guess the county's gonna be taking that. But that the municipalities basically condemn them, take them down, put them on the taxes, and then recoup your money the following year. Seemed to be what the majority of the communities, you know, when they polled you know, all the people there, is how it's being done. I know it's a lot of money, but other than that, you just litigate it, and you spend money on attorneys, and
Right.
at the end of the day, you know.
You're in the same boat.
Okay.
But yeah, there's no good solution. I mean, we went around and around with that, and so. But I do have a little bit of knowledge with Safeguard and how mortgages work. I mean, they're telling us that the minute you get a mortgage, within 18 minutes, your mortgage is bundled and is sold to some company you've never even heard of. So who you think you got your mortgage with, they no longer own it. And these companies like Safeguard, they just service them. They have nothing to do with the mortgages. They just take care of the properties. And like the grass cutting, that came up. They're on 14-day cycles, because it was brought up that, well, when it rains every week, the grass grows 6 inches a day. Doesn't matter. It's 14 days. Because I mean, we ran into that last year. But they did say that if we have issues and we don't get any results from the contractors that they hire, because apparently these people have to go through some sort of training for this company to let them know and take pictures. I guess pictures are worth 1,000 words for them.
They do.
And then they resolve the issues with their contractors. But
Yeah.
so that was sort of encouraging to hear. So I did pay attention to that.
I know the property across the street. Whenever they come in to do any mowing or whatever,
Yeah.
they always go inside the house and walk around, and then when they come out, the guy walks all the way around the house taking pictures.
Yeah, they said that they have to take pictures of what they want to get paid for. They got to document it, and it's
Yeah.
through pictures.
Yeah.
So if they cut the grass and we're claiming that they're not cutting the grass, you know, what pictures are they sending to the company?
In the other matter, I was thinking about this. I have an email address for that gentleman.
Okay.
It may be more beneficial because he won't send the stuff back, probably. Maybe more beneficial just to write him a nice email saying,
Well, we can try. You know,
you know, he does respond to those. I mean, I've sent him a couple of years ago.
okay.
I decided not to follow it anymore. But we could try it.
Yeah.
Is this for corner property?
Yes, with the fence.
Yeah, because the windows are in rough shape up there. I just drove by, and if the wind blows, I'm sure the curtains are outside now.
We
Oh,
sent
yeah.
him a bill last week for the fence, and we
Yeah.
still haven't heard anything.
Well, you're not going to, we'll have to put a lien on the property.
I think the county might be in the process of taking that property. I know the list hasn't come out yet, and talking with the assessor, but that was one of them that was on the list.
We had to send it and then say that he has so many days to respond, and then you send him past due, another notice, and then you can add it to the taxes.
Could we call tomorrow, see if it's on the list?
Well, Tim will be back on Thursday. I can check with him Thursday.
All right, thank you. Anything else for Mike?
If you don't have any other questions for me, I have another meeting I'd like to attend, unless you need me here for something.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Stand up for the village, please.
I will.
How irritated are we gonna be tonight?
I don't know.
Not.
Not?
Nope.
Okay,
We're going to be placid.
okay. Greetings and welcome to the March Village Board meeting. I'm happy to report that it looks like we've avoided flooding from ice jams on the Great Chazy River this year. It was very concerning for a few days as the ice began moving downstream, but with considerable assistance from New York State Department of Transportation, with their crews and excavators removing ice to improve the river's flow, help from local fire departments, Champlain, Rouse's Point, and Moores with their lighting trucks and river watchers. I would also like to thank Kelly Donahue, Assistant Director, Clinton County Office of Emergency Services, for his help and expertise. Until next year, when we will again be faced with the same set of circumstances as Mother Nature has her way. Now, we will clean up the mess and move forward on other village priorities. The water project is continuing to present issues that we must now deal with as we attempt to develop a budget for the 2018-2019 year ahead. That will be next. The increased cost of producing softer water has been a challenge with increased utility cost, the need for more chemical treatment, and just the added financial outlay to operate the new water softening plant associated with this project. The new water is great tasting, easier on our appliances, reduces our need, or your need, for a home water softening equipment device, no more water spotting when we wash our vehicles, and simply a much higher quality product coming into or going into our residences. As you can imagine, with increased costs associated with water production and distribution, there will also be rate adjustments necessary to pay for these improvements. We will, through careful planning and spending, keep this rate increase as reasonable as possible while still maintaining the quality product our users are expecting and deserve. With less cost to maintain home water softening equipment and the 20% reduction for sewer services that we put in place a couple years ago, this should minimize the effects of a water rate adjustment at this time. This water project involved the need to borrow a substantial amount of money, and now the yearly repayment process has begun with our first payment made in January of this year. This will require further examinations of rates as we move through the 30-year repayment period, now 29. To address this, I would like to schedule a special board meeting with the board to have a budget workshop to discuss the 2018-2019 anticipated budget and schedule a public hearing to present the budget with the board's recommendations. Look for these dates and times in your local paper and the village's website for more information. And if you want, we can do that now. I'd like to schedule a special board meeting on March 19th, if everyone is available and it works for folks, at 6 o'clock. Kim? Tom?
Yeah.
It's a month.
Yep.
That's why, okay.
Yep.
So let's schedule a special board meeting, budget workshop for Monday, the 19th at 6 o'clock. And of course, the public is invited to attend. I'd also like to schedule a public hearing for the budget. We have done that in the past on our organizational meeting date. And that we will address by resolution here as we go through the meeting, because we must change the date for next month's meeting from April 9th to April 2nd. A reminder, village elections are March 20th from noon to 9. Please exercise your important right to vote, as there are two very important trustee positions for the village board on the ballot. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Would you like to lead off, sir?
Yeah, I don't have a lot. I wanted to reiterate,
That was nice.
I was planning on thanking the crew for all the hours they're putting in, not only with the river and the ice jam, but the recent water main breaks as well. I see
Another
it.
one yesterday.
I know, I saw him out there. I didn't have time to go over and talk to you guys, but when I came home, yeah, I saw you guys out there. So thank you for all those hours. I'm sure the whole crew is getting wore out this winter between the snow, the water main breaks, the ice,
Nor'easters.
nor'easters, another one coming.
Yeah.
So thank you. You guys are doing a good job. And also, I wanted to thank the fire departments, the county and the state for their assistance. We really dodged a bullet by that process that took place. So, the equipment come from the county, I believe?
State.
That was state, so, from state DOT, that's awesome.
The state brought up a huge excavator from someplace south of here
Yeah.
Yeah,
and had one the Wednesday night that broke up the initial jam down at the corner by the community garden.
yeah, but that big one with that beach that it had was the key.
Then they brought it from here to, up to, like 122 or 37 where the Hogan'sbury
Oh,
Break.
yeah,
So Friday night, they hauled it out and headed up there because they were setting the bridge up, stuff up there, so they were using it.
yeah, that was a mess there too.
Yeah.
That was a mess. So anyways, just wanted to reiterate that thanks. And again, remind people to vote.
Guys put a lot of hours in.
Yeah, I know, that's what I say, these guys deserve a huge thank you for the amount of hours they're putting in. And I know the overtime budget is getting hurt, but they're doing the work.
Well, they got to the point where they didn't want to work anymore overtime.
Well, of course.
But they did do a good job. I appreciate your
Yeah.
mentioning that.
I notice you guys out there all the time, so thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Trustee McFetrich.
Yeah, thanks also to Mike for getting the Church Street water running again. Right in front of my house.
Again, yeah.
Yeah, again.
Just a few feet down.
Yeah. No, you guys are really awesome. That's incredible how fast you were on that. I have a couple of events to mention. I think I mentioned these last meeting also, but the next Champlain Book Club is on April 11th at 6:30 at the Meeting House. International Slow Art Day is April 14th. Two venues, one at the History Center, and the other one will be the Meeting House.
Oh,
The Arbor Day, celebration will be on April 22nd, which is also Earth Day. And that'll be in the afternoon, and we'll have kids' activities and more tree planting and some other fun things. I don't know what they are yet, but I'm sure they'll be good once we get working on them. We're going to have another cooking class. It's called the Village Table with Peter Gallagher. He's going to talk about casseroles, and that is on April 7th from 2 to 4 at the Meeting House. And I just want to say thank you to the mayor for all he does for this village, and particularly the water project. He definitely has our back. I don't think people know how hard he works on that and how many meetings he goes to, and he spends hours and hours thinking about it. So thanks for that, Greg.
Some would declare it an obsession.
It has been called that by certain people or a certain person, but it's not a bad thing to care.
I know.
All right. So
Thank you,
I care that you care about your obsession.
thank you. As long as it doesn't turn into compulsions either. So,
Haven't seen any compulsions yet. All right, thanks, that's all I have.
yep, okay, Kim?
All right. Thank you to the crew. I mean, I know we thank you all the time, but we see you out there, and we always hear good things from the residents too. Sometimes in a complaint or two, but not very often. The compliments certainly outweigh anything that, you know, they might gripe about, and sometimes they just have to vent. Yes, in the water project, hopefully someday we'll see an end to it, and it'll all just be a bad nightmare gone past. I've tried reaching out several times to St. Mary's regarding the field. I haven't gotten a response yet,
Well, I think-
to see if we
Go ahead,
can,
I'm sorry.
I just am having a terrible time connecting with people there, so, I've tried again twice today, so.
Well, I think that, you made the call, right?
Mm-hmm. And we sent a
We
letter.
sent a letter too,
Yes, we
Yeah.
sent the letter.
Yeah,
a
I
couple
know
weeks
we've
ago,
sent
and
a letter.
they never responded.
Yes, and she mentioned that she got something, and I said, well, send me a text message and to remind me, and I did, and I called, and so,
I think the last, was she going to talk to the priest?
She said she was supposed to talk to Father, and
that's what I was told on Thursday night.
Yeah, well, we still have a little time to make this work. Little time.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna comment on that in a moment, but go ahead, yes, fine.
No, that's just,
Would you,
haven't gotten a response yet. I'll continue to.
maybe you could try approaching Father after Mass on Saturday?
I couldn't.
Yeah, maybe the best way to do it, if you don't get any results in between.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, is that good?
That's good, yes. Thank you.
That's it, that's all I have.
We're gonna go back to Tom here for just a moment.
Yeah, I missed one thing, we have a blood drive at the Champlain Catholic Men's Club, sponsored by Knights of Columbus, March 19th. That's 1 week from today. And
It's our budget
It's-
workshop.
3:30 to 7. 7:30
3 to 7.
3 to
3 to
7.
7, 3 to 7, I'm sorry. Boy, lack of sleep, apologize.
It's right there.
So again, March 19th, 3 to 7, and please, I'd love to see higher numbers. We seem to hover around 19 to 20. It'd be great to get more, so they're always in great need. Please come donate.
Especially with the upcoming spring breaks and summer's right around the corner, and you start getting the emails about their need.
Shortages.
Yeah, well, people go on vacations and they go up here and they go there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Is there a report from the clerk treasurer, please?
everyone has their expense and revenue reports for February. And if you notice in water, there was 2 accounts that were in the negative, but we got a reimbursement check from the town. So, the administration equipment, brought it back out of the negative. And then the other account is the one that we have the transfer for, and that's the electricity.
Okay. So with the equipment, it was money owed from town for this water project?
Reimbursement, yeah.
Okay.
So it took it out of the negative, so that one was fine.
Meters and stuff like that.
Okay.
Installed.
And then the other account, we need to do a transfer from 8320.2 source of supply equipment for 4,400 into F 8320.4 source of supply contractual. That should take care of our electricity bills for till the end of the year.
Okay.
And you've noticed a decrease in electric rates with this new company? Or is
Well,
it?
this is our first month, so.
Yeah. Need a motion to approve this transfer?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion here? Roll call, please.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee McFetrich.
Aye.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Mayor Martin.
Aye. If I may comment, look at the percentage remaining under the water fund, and you'll notice that we are very close to where we should be at this point in the year. And there's not a whole lot of fluff here,
No, it's not.
and we will bring that back up when we talk a little bit about the budget and the paperwork that you have that we will look at for next Monday. You will notice that we have slashed the water budget to the bone, and we are still short. So. Okay,
That's right.
need a motion to pay the warrant.
Okay, we have extra invoices,
Yeah.
just a second. Extra invoices of $9,974.70 for a total warrant of $28,032.81.
I make a motion to approve the warrant including the invoices to be added totaling $28,032.81.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion? You'll notice that our contribution for the rec trail is there, added to the warrant. Mike, can I ask what there's on the first page of this, under 318 mid-state supply, Village of Champlain sign?
No, it wasn't that much. I don't think it wasn't that much. Where is it?
Which number?
It's on the first page of this,
5999 was assigned, number 318. What number are you looking at, Greg?
first page 318, down at the bottom, second from the bottom.
Yeah, it's 5999.
Where did that go?
That's the sign for the water plant for our discharge at the,
Oh, okay, that's right.
that's the sign with the Speedy's permit for our
Yeah.
discharge for our water plant.
Yeah,
That's what that sign's for.
okay, thank
That
you.
one we should get back. Gonna submit for that, we should get that back in the project. That was part of the new water plant.
Okay.
That's a sign that goes by the river. There's actually gonna be 2 posts with that when we get reimbursed, but that was the sign itself, it had to be, a certain size, and it had to say certain, we gotta put it up, better than not.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any further discussion on the warrant? You notice that there's on the second page, 327 Taylor Rental. This is a year's rent for that fence around the property downtown. That will be placed on the lien as well.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Yep.
I'm still trying to find a trail that you mentioned now.
Clinton County Highway,
It's on
It's on the
the
on this
extra.
sheet.
Clinton County Highway.
Ah, I wonder if I can find it. There it is.
I was surprised at that, but. All right, no further discussion, we'll have a roll call, please.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee McFetrich.
Aye.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Mayor Martin.
Aye. Okay, Mike, give us the bad news.
Not too much to report.
Yeah, right.
Not too much good anyway. Well, our plow truck is right now at a commission. Flywheel housing broke and parts are on its way. We were able to get the truck up to Peterbilt. I'm hoping parts will be in tomorrow.
Are we at the plow on the old truck now, or what are we doing for
Been,
tonight?
all weekend I've been using the 1 ton. But this afternoon we put the slusher on the old truck. But brought that last week for inspection, the carrier bearing's gone and I gotta put new maxis, the spring's broken, the maxis, but if we need it, we're gonna use it to get by. If something
Sounds like you're gonna need it.
yeah, if something happens, I have one other alternative that I may be able to do, with another municipality.
Okay.
They had a spare truck, but one of theirs just got wrecked. So they're using it, and they have another one if they have to, and it comes down to it where we're gonna get pounded, they'll see if they get a slusher and a wing on it for us, and we will be able to use it. Either way, I'm not to sand on the 1 ton,
Right.
because there's no sander on the
Yeah.
old truck, but, first thing I gotta do is tomorrow, I gotta make some sand, because we got enough for one more round probably, well, maybe 2 rounds, then I've already mixed once. I had to borrow salt from another municipality, a truckload, because I couldn't get any more, they wouldn't let me have any more. So many municipalities are over. We didn't make our tonnage as far as what we're allowed over, but it's not a full truckload, so they won't bring it. So we've been mixing it real light, using mostly sand and very little salt. So,
They won't, if there's another municipality that needed some, they wouldn't split the truckload or anything like that?
they told me I'm out of luck, so.
Wow.
But I found another municipality that does have some extra, so we got a load from them, and when we get ours, we're gonna use the same truck, and they brought it rounded, and we'll round it and give it back that way. It's equal,
Yeah.
so they're nice when they do that for us, so.
Excellent.
We'll need more from them.
I can get more if we needed it, but I will have enough, because this time of year, we can mix, just putting a little bit of salt with a lot of sand, just enough to keep it from freezing, and give it a little bit, because with the sunshine we have, it's been all right, so. But I gotta get up there tomorrow, and I'll probably have one of the guys in the morning mix a little bit. We should be back to a full crew tomorrow. I hope.
Well, I hope you,
I think Phil's been at the flu for a few days, so.
pardon me?
One of our employees has had a
Oh, really?
flu since Friday, yeah.
Oh,
Today's the first day they ate, so hopefully they should be back tomorrow.
So what's a good sign when he eats?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike, I'd like you to, if you would, please, talk a little bit about your concern on this truck and the need to.
Well, the truck itself, the flywheel housing is broke. We used it Friday, and when they got done with it Friday, they came back and said, boy, this truck, they thought maybe we had brakes hanging, didn't seem to have the power. We're gonna work on it, flip the wing blade and whatnot, we blew a hydraulic line, changed it, while we're underneath, we found the cracked flywheel housing, and it appears that the transmission is holding the motor up, where it's broke, so the motor's binding, it's robbing the power. They've had one other truck that did this, and it broke away from the motor mounts and it spun the transmission and ripped the transmission out. So we didn't wanna, we unloaded the sand, we took the plow and wing off, and we babied it. We did get it to Peterbilt. If you were to think about somewhere else to bring it, we'd have to have a record and bring it somewhere with a record, which I don't know what a record costs, but I'm sure it's gonna be expensive.
yeah.
We don't really have too much option. I know usually we like to get a couple quotes and but the other thing is time.
Well, I think in this case, we can call this an emergency
Yeah.
purchase
Um,
with no
It
doubt.
And, I've got a quote, but those numbers, you know, aren't firm, they put a statement on there because everything's rusted underneath there and it's probably gonna go,
The labor's gonna go up,
yeah.
for one thing.
Yeah, I think they didn't have a pan gasket, I think they need a pan gasket too, because they were deciding whether it's easier to take the motor right out to do it, or do it in a truck. 'Cause it's gonna be split, you know?
Yeah.
So, we really don't have too much choice, it's not like you can just, you know, if it was the summertime, it's a little different, but right now, I mean,
Well, even so, once you add towing charges,
oh, you're gonna be
yeah,
thousands.
commercial towing's thousands.
You know.
Even if it's close by.
This is not something that we can tackle here. I
Nope.
mean,
No,
And
it's
you're
not.
concerned about replacing it?
yeah, eventually, we're gonna have to start thinking about putting money away for another, this salt is eating,
Well-
won't be long, the oil pan and stuff's gonna have to be changed, it's salt is eating under that truck.
I agree with Mike on this.
Unbelievable.
Him and I have talked about the condition of the vehicle, what, about 3, 4, or 5 weeks ago, something like that?
Maybe, yeah.
And we were talking about how it's rotting away, it has no miles on it, but it's, the salt is eating everything up, and I said that at that time, I go,
Everything is starting to
that's
get
the next piece we gotta save for.
All that, and I mean, we have that truck sprayed, don't we?
Yeah.
With rust inhibitor and,
I don't think we did it last spring, we didn't do any equipment.
no,
We should do them again this spring though, we actually didn't do any equipment.
Yeah, we skipped last year because of the water project, we never got to it. But even then, once we did do it, the truck was 5
Too
or
late.
6 years old, something like that.
we don't drive it, I mean, it's, the only time it's really used is in the wintertime. So it's always in the sand and the salt, and during the summer, we don't drive it very often.
Well, we use it, when we can, you know, haul, you know, we gotta haul the, water breaks and all that kind of stuff, we try to use the old truck. And we use it to haul item 4 and, you know, that kind of stuff, but we don't use it a lot, so. It's taller, so it's harder to load
Yep.
in and out of. We use the old truck, that way if it gets banged up, it's not quite as, you know.
And as soon as we get the Peterbilt back, we gotta do,
Gonna put a carrier bearing and, the spring's broken, the maxi, and there's a couple things that we're gonna, cause they had it up there and I brought it back so we could do it. We had it in the garage, we're gonna start taking it apart, but I'm glad I waited now because,
So we got one maxi locked out.
no, it's, the spring broke, but of course, that's on the emergency brake side, but they noticed that when they were doing the inspection, so
Gotcha.
I gotta get that stuff done. So we'll do what we can.
So you still have brakes on both wheels, service
Yeah,
brakes.
yeah, correct. But we didn't start taking it apart or doing anything with it yet because, I'm glad I had it yesterday.
Yeah,
We put the sander in a 1 ton, that's what I've been using. Saturday I sanded and Sunday I sanded and then we had the brake, so. It's just tough with you can do it with a 1 ton, but you gotta be careful because it's not made to, you know, you hook them anyway. You wanna whip the plow off the truck. I mean, it's not made for, you be wearing it
so
out.
basically, if I could add to that, the truck's getting to the condition where it's not shot, but as a
No.
primary plow truck, it needs, I think it should be replaced soon. I think it would be well to service as our secondary truck, wouldn't it? As a spare, a dump?
Yeah.
Or do you think repairs would be too costly on this one?
It's hard to say. I mean, there's gonna be some stuff here that's coming up that we're gonna have to, I mean, it's gonna need an oil pan. It's starting to get tough because of salt. Everything is once it starts eating, you just keep replacing. The thing is, what is it worth that's the hard part. It doesn't have anything for miles.
I know.
The motor will last for, I don't even know, it's got 15,000 maybe. It doesn't have that many miles on it.
18 maybe? 16, 18? It's
I
less
looked at
than
it
20,000.
today, but I don't remember, yeah.
Yeah, it's very little mileage.
I mean, for a diesel, and it's not, it's 10 years old, or 8 years old. Warranty's 7 years. Just got out, you know, a year
Yeah.
ago, we just got out of warranty, so now we're,
Well, we'll just decide what to do with it when
we need to
we get that.
start,
Yeah, we need to put reserves.
start putting away for it though, because it's gonna have
Add
to
to our
be.
reserve.
A lot of
for
places
that.
have them on a lot of municipalities have them on a 10-year flip, you know, but they put a lot more miles too.
We still have an equipment reserve to begin with, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just need to add to it in this budget.
I agree.
And once you get a warranty, it gets expensive. Huh?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, actually, I mentioned at the grade today, it sounds crazy, but, in May, our warranty runs on the back and we've had it for 4 years already.
That's 4 years already?
Yeah.
Gosh.
I just looked at the paperwork, May, I think it's 21st of May, it'll be 4 years after our warranty runs out.
That's scary, because that
Yeah.
means we're 4 years older too now.
We have 120.
Well, it's not only that, but I asked Mike to call the
I'd like to see
supplier.
I'd like to see what it would be to trade it, cause there's nothing, it's only got 1,300 hours on it, 1,200 hours on it. To see what it would be, because we get the municipality discount and we get full trade-in, what it would be to swap it. Just to see, and keep it, try to keep it.
I would be interested in having.
Just
do
as,
that.
Yeah,
because
like the
if
same
you can do it
as
for not a
as
lot.
loader. When you get in that cycle, you're not losing a whole lot of money, you got it warranted for 5 years, and it still has some resale value.
Yeah, I agree.
Just to get, I'm gonna see, next time I see him, just to get numbers, you'll probably be in the next couple weeks, I should see him here. Just to get numbers and see what, have an idea.
To begin with equipment, these
Initial.
days, and all the electronics that's in them, being on a warranty is so costly, it's not funny. You know, even your personal vehicles, you get out of warranty, and it's a scary place to be.
Yeah. Okay, what else you got for us, Michael?
Oh, that's probably about all I got. So we got both trucks that need repair, and then we start using the 1 ton, and I just have to buy an alternator for that. I can put the alternator on, because it either doesn't charge or it's overcharging. So I've got one new one out there, I gotta take care of it, but,
Is that truck out of warranty too?
that's a 13.
Wow. Thank God time flies.
The loader's not though, loader's not, more than trackless, those are. Other than that, we're gonna be reading water meters here next week, this week, the end of the week.
Did we get a hold of him?
Yeah, he was supposed to come today, but with everything we had going on, we had training this morning, general law and some other stuff that, he doesn't wanna come Wednesday or Thursday because of the storm, so Friday's coming up. So we're gonna do meter readings on Friday. Other than that, we've been just staying busy with normal, maintenance, flooding, water breaks.
Yeah.
Meters, we're still putting meters, we got a few left to do. Trying to get some of our spring stuff ready, our sweeper and this kind of stuff, but a little bit of cleanup. But there seems to be enough to keep going with, for sure.
You want to set up pickup dates now, or you want to wait till April?
I think the
April
next,
1st
the
meeting.
next meeting's, yeah, we'll wait till next month's meeting,
Yeah.
Okay,
because it's a week early anyway, so.
It doesn't sound like it's gonna break enough to do that.
well,
wait.
it probably gives you a better idea what the spring's gonna look like over the next 2 or 3
Is he
weeks.
in motion on this, or?
Not if we want to, you want to make it a motion that it's an emergency purchase.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that this is certainly an emergency purchase, and we just need to have this fixed at Champlain Peterbilt, period.
Okay, have a second?
Second.
Now, you might want to touch on, it may be more than what they're looking at here.
Yeah, we, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
The
the
way
es-
they-
the estimate
there's-
is for 37.23, but, yeah.
that's
it's
for
just
25 hours labor, but if it goes more than that, obviously it's gonna cost us more. I mean,
Yeah,
um,
agreed.
Just so everybody knows.
I mean, and I told them up front that, it is rusting. A lot of that rusting may be hard to get apart. But they figured 20, 25, they were gonna put 25. Hopefully that covers us.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on the truck? Roll call, please.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee McFetrich.
Aye.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Mayor Martin.
Aye. All set, Mike?
Yep.
Correspondence, please.
Correspondence from M. Cashman and Harry McManus regarding shared services meeting. Correspondence from code officer to Hai Sung O regarding violation. Correspondence from codes officer to Don Patterson regarding violation. The JCEO monthly report, Atlantic testing report, and correspondence from New York State Rural Waters and to Assemblyman Jones and Senator Little regarding swamp program.
Okay. on the first correspondence with Supervisor Cashburn and Legislator McManus, I've RSVP'd to go to that. It was a very beneficial discussion on the last round about shared services and about, you know, opportunities to share some funding. The other comment I would like to make is with ATL. First, I need to apologize to the board because I think I shared the wrong information with you. This is what you have is the first couple pages of the actual report from Atlantic Testing Laboratories.
Okay.
And it gives some real good indications of what the next step is. Well, in the meantime, from this, and I guess I really should apologize to the board again, before you have, or had this information, DEC got involved with Mr., I called up Mike, and said, we need to know your plan of action, or might want to lock your doors. So, I have called Atlantic Testing last week 3 times, left messages. Week before that, I called and talked to Tiernan Smith, and he promised me that I would have this last Monday. The necessaries for DEC, 2 things. One is a proposal for the board to monitor the excavation process. And 2, which was something DEC really wanted, was a remedial action work plan. The DEC representative was very understanding when I explained that it was my fault, my omission. He said that he had worked with ATL in the past, and he holds them in pretty high regards, and he said that they will get the stuff done. Well, I haven't had a report from Mr. Smith as of yet. I'll try again tomorrow. I'd like to get this into DEC as quickly as possible so that we can formulate a plan and get moving on this. It looks to me like, and maybe this is a huge supposition, but it looks to me like the problem area is going to be out front. I don't think the 2 in the back are going to be too extensive. I say that without knowing what's in there, but I don't think that they're going to be too extensive. The one out front here is going to be quite extensive. If there is indeed a tank buried in the ground.
They say 2.5 feet deep.
What's that?
Go in front, go in that deep?
It says 2.5 feet deep, is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yeah.
So,
The guy from ATL did call back
Here's the-
this afternoon.
He did call?
Yeah, he said he sent you what you needed it's on your email.
Okay.
That's your email.
On
So
email?
12 to 15 feet long, 2.5 feet deep, we don't know how wide,
what
but
was that, 12 or 15?
Well,
I wonder if that's
here's
2.5 feet to the top of it? Must be to the top of it,
I
has
would
to be.
assume.
There are the pictures. That is the one that's at the lift in the center garage.
Yeah.
This was just where there appears to be a pipe going to the side there where was the storage bin for oil,
That was
hydraulic oil.
That was probably an old pit.
I think that's to the lift, the lift.
Um,
They're all
It's
to
just,
the lift.
I think the same showing
Yeah.
pipe going over.
Okay,
This is it. That one there
this is the
in
one
back.
that's the pit, and this is the one in the front. Here, dimensions. Not real good pictures, but nonetheless,
They probably don't know the depth of the tank, I mean, the volume of it.
no.
It looks to, I guess they know the perimeter of it. I would assume that means the ground depth.
Yeah, to the top of
I'm
it.
sorry, I didn't show this.
If that's the case, it's never built, it's never go through with equipment.
Yeah.
2.5 feet.
And there will still, I think there's gonna have to be some remedial work done on the solar. There's that one line that's gotta be closed up, the sewer line.
I'm supposed to do that already.
Redirect that, and, there's gonna have to be some things done
I just gotta pull it in some.
where that sump pump hole is.
Well, that's fine.
No, it's not gonna be easy, but it's gotta be done.
Is ATL gonna come up with this whole plan, or do we have to hire somebody separate to do that?
No, they're gonna come up with a plan, an action plan, a work
Okay,
plan. And then we'll look at it very closely. If we can manage it here in-house, we'll still probably have to go for, I don't know the extent of the spread. I mean, we know that there's petroleum products in the ground there,
well, based on what we know, that will,
and how it's going to be remedied.
this could be a lot of excavation.
Even the DEC guys said, you're gonna have to dig this out probably and store your stuff in the back and then dispose of it. And then, I don't know if there's anything that's gotta be done to the foundation, or if it's, you won't know that till you dig it out. But I'd like to somehow coordinate this with this water line replacement out here, so we only have to dig it up out here once.
Well, that'd be handy.
And that depends on if you wanna do that in-house, or if you wanna contract it out.
But we don't know if we can do this, or it's gonna have to be with hazmat, it's gonna have to be, I don't know yet.
Yeah,
Well, the removal of
They
the,
may come and, I don't know if they'll come and take samples, or how they're gonna do it,
that was,
based on what you've told me when you dig for water lines out here, there's gonna be a lot of soil that's gonna have to be removed, and
only in your property though. I mean, what we dug was down the street on someone else's property, that's not really what's on our property.
no, I agree, but I mean, I'm assuming they're gonna find the same thing. If that's the source.
I would think that ATL's gonna have to come up as part of their
Ordinance.
monitoring, they're gonna have to take some soil samples and
Mhm.
see the extent.
I mean, where they, if they don't find a tank, then where do they stop? Do they dig everything, the whole soil out of it? You know what I mean, it's tough.
This could be big.
Yeah.
Greg,
Mm-hmm.
I have just, and this is the nitpicky part of me, but is it ATL that took these pictures?
Yes,
Okay,
They
they, just for correctness, they need to change this to Champlain Village Office, not Champlain Town Office.
Yeah.
Just so that,
yeah. no.
but Pandora's box has been opened,
I
so,
remind them of that every time you see it.
do you? Okay, well, that's.
It's a little,
Hey,
pet peeve,
it's gotta be done.
yes.
Well, that's it, it's
Yep,
gonna be expensive, but it needs to be done.
well, it's a public health issue, so.
Oh,
it's-
absolutely, and that's, it just
When
needs,
we start getting into the expenses, is there any insurance coverage towards something like this?
No, I don't think so. There's no coverage for this. I asked
Just-
Chauvin if
just-
there was, and
Just zombie apocalypse?
yeah.
You didn't ask? Well, I was curious, I didn't know if we could find a,
They may be able to work something, but she wasn't very positive in her answer.
it's basically about a piece of property that's contaminated, it's our problem.
That's the bad, sorry part about that whole deal.
Yeah,
Mhm.
You know, when you bought this building in the 70s, you never expected that you would have to deal with this.
right.
But now, I mean, with the new regulations and, DEC keeping a sharper eye on these things, then
Mhm.
it needs to be addressed.
Mhm.
So we will.
Well,
Absolutely.
let's not forget the
What?
issues that we're having here with the working conditions too.
Yes,
You know,
yeah,
so there are the health conditions here.
yeah. That's the key.
They're supposed to be here, they weren't here back.
Okay.
Right.
New business. Need a motion to change the April meeting from the 9th to April 2nd.
Make a motion?
Have a second?
Second.
This will be our organizational meeting, as well as a public hearing for the budget. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, water rates. Excuse me, as I mentioned in my report, there's going to have to be some water rate adjustments Looking at what we need to make the water budget work for next year, 2018 and 2019, I am suggesting that there be a 15.5% increase across the board for water rates residential. I know that a year or so ago, we raised the rates with the idea that we were going to be, and we still are, being proactive. We knew that the loan repayment was coming up, and we raised the rates again a year and a half or so ago to meet the anticipated need for repayment, our part of the loan repayment. Even with the rate, or even with the increase of $1.53, $1.55, help me out, Juanita, Mary. It went from $2.98 to $4.54,
$1.50.
so it's $1.56.
Yeah.
Even with that increase here on the village users, we raised about $72,000. That was almost enough at that time to pay for our share of the debt repayment. Some other circumstances come into play, and the payment schedule, or our share of this payment, got kind of turned around a bit. We had to work out, as we addressed a couple months ago, we had to work out a repayment plan for January of 2018's loan repayment. I would like to think that the negotiations are going to continue, but I can't wait a whole lot longer here, because we need to have our budget in place. I have asked for the last 2 months, January, February, including halfway through March, for a sit-down meeting to discuss these things that we are talking about, and thus far, that has not been accomplished. So I feel that the board here should go ahead, make rate adjustments. This current billing that Mike is going to start reading here in a week or so, I think we should honor the agreed-to rate as we renegotiated for in January. The following reading, I think, is when this rate increase, because it coincides with our budget year, that this rate increase be put in place then. We still have some discussions, and I would like to have your feedback here. We can do that when we talk next Monday on, I'd like to take this home, for you to take this home and see how you feel about this. I think we need to look at commercial rates, maybe changing the minimum rate to a service fee, which is going to come into play, and then usage on top of that as well, rather than just a minimum, where some of the commercial accounts may not reach the minimum. We need to generate some funds. When you look at your budget with the paperwork that was given to you, I think, Juanita, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we are still in the vicinity of $7,000 or $8,000 short. Am I correct?
In the water budget.
In the water
overall
budget.
budget. A little over 7,000
In water.
in water.
All right. Okay, so that has to somehow be made up. I'm not gonna run this water budget, and I don't expect the village residents to be picking up an extra cost without some of this being passed on. Done, we're done. Show that in film. Okay, so I'd like you to take this information home if you want. I have a copy of the old sewer rates.
Water
This,
rates.
Mary has notated that on this page here that you have, the old rates on the right-hand column. And you have the budget worksheets with the numbers that we kind of bandied this about for a number of days. I know Juanita and Mary were getting a little frustrated with me because I have a tendency to ponder a lot.
They're just smiling.
I know, but they're just being nice with you here. Wait till they leave me alone.
So Greg, these are all the current rates, correct?
Yes, the current rates are here.
And at the bottom,
And at the bottom,
The
yes.
bottom ones are the outside users that we were servicing, that's the residential outside, residential, commercial
We're going to
outside.
the
We've been billing
town account.
those. That's what the rates previous were, the ones on the very bottom.
Yeah.
And the last one is what we have been billing the town for, the rest of the town accounts that they do their billing for. The proposal for town rates is that it all go under one basic thing, is residential and commercial, and using those same rates instead of changing around the minimums and service fees and different rates for different, between the residential outside and the town accounts. Putting them all together in one.
so.
What ended up?
So I think another way to look at it is we wanted the town rates to be treated the same as the village rates. So the village has residential and commercial, we wanted that same thing to be in the town, residential, commercial. Yeah, ask questions if it doesn't make sense. We spent a lot of time going over it, so it's clearer to us. It's quite a change, actually.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of frustrating times here.
I'll just add one more thing. So I think the town board was under the assumption that the town rate, the last one, the 746, which was going to be changed to 625, that would be for everyone in Water District 6. And we're proposing or suggesting or approving that, in effect, we have a residential and a commercial, and the commercial will be higher, just as we're thinking of maybe charging more for our commercial, which is not reflected right now on the chart.
So they were under the impression that the whole District 6 would be the same,
Yeah,
whether it's
because,
residential or commercial?
yeah, because Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, but the town district previously had no division, so everybody was charged the 746, and they weren't in charge of the school or GSA or those other outside users that we had, but they're going to be turned over to them, so it only makes sense that there should be a commercial rate.
Mm-hmm, I agree. When does this board become active in regards to
As soon
the
as,
shared board between the two
I would
municipalities?
anticipate,
It should be fairly soon, but we're really needing more information. We're just not really in a setting, so we have firm numbers to look at to see how it's going to work.
Why, has the board met already?
No, it has
Oh,
not
I
met.
didn't think so.
It hasn't met, but that board comprised of the village and the town, I don't think we have good numbers yet to be able to make many
gonna have
recommendations.
to run the program for probably 6 months to a year before we have some numbers on how much it costs, what is the increased cost for electricity, chemicals, stuff like that to run that water plant. I think it's going to be significant. There are some other factors involved here that have to do with this rate increase that has an effect on plant maintenance and operation. As you look at this, we kind of bandied this about earlier today, that with the village rates on the commercial, those need to be adjusted. They should not be the same as the residential rates. And I think another recommendation that at least I have is that we consider putting in a service fee, a service charge for the commercial users inside the village,
Which they currently don't.
instead of what we have now is a minimal charge. I would recommend that we put a service fee, bill that in addition to the usage, whatever water they're using. Rather than just attempting to meet the minimum and then, looking at how much water they used, if they used,
And these are what the current minimums are now,
62 and
63.
63.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So that may be something that you want to pencil in, your thoughts, when we meet next Monday and discuss this.
Do you have a thought on what the service charge might be?
Well, I would like to see it, instead of $62.50 as a minimum fee, $62.50 as a service charge.
Okay.
Change the terminology.
Mhm.
And 63 for sewer.
So that would be added on top of the water usage?
Yes. It's whatever the board would like to do. I mean, that would be, you can adjust that, if you want to make it less, if you want to make it more, but I think we need a service fee as well as what they're paying usage.
Because this minimum is just that they have to meet that minimum, so
Exactly.
if it's a business that's not
That
using any water
minimum
for any
is
reason.
probably around, guessing, 8 to 10,000 gallons.
We
So-
might still need a category of minimum simply for the ones that aren't using any water.
Well, that's where the service fee would come in.
Yeah, but it would be less. If the service fee were 50, we'd only be getting 50 from them rather than
Well,
62.
that's why Greg's suggesting just change the
62.50.
terminology.
No, but I'm saying if someone uses no water, they would only have a service charge of $50. Or you're thinking, before we said 50, but you just changed it to 62.
Yeah, just change, instead of a minimum rate, minimum charge,
You're changing the
change that to
terminology.
a service fee.
Commercial places that use
I gotta
like
think about
5,000 or
that.
6,000
And then
gallons.
that'll be the minimum, and then you charge
They
for
only have to
usage on
pay
top of that.
$62.50.
Right, so if they don't use any water at all, they're paying just the service fee.
Plus.
Right.
The people that use less
We're going with the
are
assumption,
gonna
I mean,
pay-
there's not that many
people that pay a lot.
commercial
It's not
properties
just
here
the
that we're not,
difference to them.
that are not using water.
So what you're gonna gain is you're gonna gain a
Well,
service
you have to
fee and all the
divide
commercials
like
that
that
are
by
using
that,
water.
that'll.
Oh, I understand, I'm the one who recommended
You
first
divide
that
one
we
by
put in a
that,
service fee,
determine
but
how many thousand
again, I didn't really
gallons
think
they
about
take
the ones that weren't using
make
any
it
water.
work.
So what we need to think about is when you're looking at the cost of that, maybe it's not fair to throw this on all the businesses,
If they use like.
because we're gonna pick up a lot of extra service fee money that you weren't getting. How many were only meeting the minimum charge?
Well, adjust the service fee as to what you think it should be.
Yeah, so I mean, so I'm asking, so how many businesses typically only paid minimum?
They're gonna pay
There would
62.50 plus that.
Definitely would be
But if
some.
they use
But
it
not-
to 13.
Well, you're looking at, I mean,
Yeah.
if you take just the shopping plaza,
Yeah,
most of them will use more than
yes,
the minimum of, if 62.50
yes.
is the minimum, you're talking 8 to 10,000 gallons, most of them are gonna use more than that.
That's what I'm saying, so they were never paying this, this would be an additional fee on them.
Right, right, you're adding another $62
So-
to their bill.
Exactly,
And
we've
that's
already,
where I'm a
we've
little
already
bit-
raised the rate, so I'm thinking we need to, I'm for it, but I think you need to adjust it down.
Yeah, I think 62 is a huge service fee.
Yeah, I think,
Well,
I
that's
think
that's less than what our neighbors down the road were charging.
I,
That was $100 and
Could,
$60
could
for
we look at
residents.
it, could we look at it this way, is there some, Mary, could you tell us next week how many businesses typically stay with the minimum charge?
Well, we'll have readings done, we'll
Yeah.
know, we'll have.
And then a total of how many,
And then how many gallons they use.
We'll have
Yeah.
You're
readings,
just mainly looking at
It's
businesses.
still kind of
Yeah,
like.
the
No, I
give
just-
you-
Just the commercial.
Yeah, just the commercial, it'll give you an idea if you're gonna charge them that minimum fee plus the gallons,
Yeah,
then
we-
you know how much each one would probably get increased.
yeah, like I don't wanna hit the businesses that are currently not in that boat with a
Right.
huge service fee, if we need to,
Yeah.
if we're only collecting $620 every quarter because of this for example, I'll just use that as an example, there's 10 of them paying that.
Mhm.
And now we increase it, we flip it over as a service fee and now we're making $12,000, that's not fair. We don't wanna gouge these other customers, is what I'm saying.
Well, the other thing I think we need to keep in mind here is the commercial rates need to be increased. Where it says commercial, M1 is inside 525,
Yeah,
I think that needs to be increased a bit,
yeah,
because commercial should not be paying the same as a residential.
yeah, you're right.
And that goes for sewer as well. Both water and sewer need to be increased. I think somewhere's in the vicinity of, for water, a minimum of $8 per thousand, and for sewer, $10.50 per thousand. But you can, if you want, write that in there, think about it, we'll discuss it on Monday.
And we'll have, meetings by the end of the week, so Monday would be, probably have meetings, those accounts will know
Yep.
about what what they're using, have an idea.
Okay.
This is
Yeah,
on
that's
our
what
We're gonna
list.
read Friday, so
Right.
That's gonna be real helpful trying to figure out how to set
Yes, you-
these, is knowing what volumes we're looking at.
Yeah, and this will be for the July 1st reading, right? No, we read in June, but the July
July
1st
bill.
quarter, July, August, and September.
do the next one.
Yeah,
No,
you had some concerns
No.
no.
when we were discussing, you have concerns?
The small, the ones that are used very little is what they're gonna ones that's gonna be tough on. The ones
Yeah.
that are using very little,
If you do that.
under the
service,
minimum.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The ones that are under the minimum or just
Yeah,
above?
No, just below, they're using below the minimum, because they're gonna get that same fee plus per thousand. And
Per
the big
gallons.
users, it won't affect as much.
Well, you'll have those figures for us, yes, sort of?
Yeah, we're reading it, it'll be the last 3 months, so you just have an idea what they used.
Yeah, we're gonna need that.
It's hard to-
That's gonna be real
Yeah.
useful to have those volumes.
There's not a ton of commercial accounts. Most.
So are you proposing that, you just said just change the terminology, so will there still be a minimum charge on top of the service fee?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
So I don't see how that would hurt those small users.
Well, just, we
Per
just got, if you
thousand
figure it out, that 6250, that covers 13,000 gallons.
Mm-hmm.
So a small business that's, medium is using 13,000, they're paying 6250.
Current.
If you change that and make the 6250 service fee, and then they're gonna pay an additional 6250 in actual water usage.
They're still gonna pay for their water usage
Every
times
thousand.
On
$8
top of
on
that
top of,
service
plus
fee.
a 6250.
Oh, not the minimum charge, you're talking about the usage,
If you
okay.
Yeah.
switch it
On top
over,
of the
if you switch it over,
6250.
you're paying the service fee of 6250 plus the water usage, which is gonna be, if they use, the break even is between 13 and 14,000 gallons, is when you switch from
But that,
minimum to starting to pay.
so that even supports my thoughts even more, that service fee needs to be a lot lower.
There's nothing about this water project that's fair. All across the
Service fee
board.
lower and.
We
rate
don't wanna
higher.
hurt our small businesses or
Yeah.
people wanting to invest in a small business.
Right.
So we do have to think about it,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
those are the ones that are going to be hurt.
Yes.
Mhm. But I guess we all agree that there will have to be some adjustments made here, I mean, we just can't.
Yeah,
This budget's not gonna survive.
Right, and that's just it, we need to do it based on that, so
Yeah.
we really need to look at the volumes.
But they don't understand it.
I'm assuming in that water budget, I haven't looked at it yet, we know what we need to pick up.
About 7,000.
Well, no, to meet the budget,
Right.
but is, you're looking to get
We've
just
done-
7,000 out of this?
We've just been,
Oh, no, before we discussed the rates, we needed about 70,000.
That's what I wanted to hear. I knew it was the $7,000.
Right.
So we
just.
need to look at it with math to find out how we're gonna
Yeah.
pick that up out of this.
Yeah.
60,000, it was, we needed 63,000 to cover the payment, and then the overall budget, when we redid it, it was only like an increase of 1,500, but
Yeah.
we have to cover the payment.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm.
So it was like 65,000.
If we can skip over while they get their budget sheets out. How much do we need for the general fund at this point? Maintaining the tax rate at 453, which has been for a while. Is it 450? No, it's
388.
388. To maintain the tax rate under the general fund at 388 would necessitate
Um,
79,000.
no, just a little shy of 70,000
Okay.
that we're short in the general.
At this tax rate,
At that tax rate.
what, then what bumped us that far up? Increases in,
Wages went up,
wa-
insurance
wages,
went up.
insurance, I would assume.
Um,
Well, last year, our budget last year was off. Our budget last year was off 49,950. We elected to use,
Fund balance.
Fund balance.
Yeah,
So, which basically, our budget this year has raised just a little under 20,000.
Yeah.
Which is wages, workers' comp,
That makes more
insurance, and such. So Greg didn't wanna raise the rates, so we just decided that we're gonna leave that as fund balance, so. So it's just shy of 70,000 that we're short in the general.
And did our assessment change too, didn't it? Didn't it go up a bit this year? Where we
Yeah,
down
but it didn't
last year?
generate, it only generated maybe about $1,000 more.
so you're proposing using all 70 out of the fund balance this year?
I think it's important that we, I know it's been that rate for the last, what, 3 or 4 years, but
Yeah, I just don't wanna end up
Well, it used to be.
where we used to be at some point where we have to make a large increase at once. I'd rather chip a little teeny bit at a time.
I don't think that's gonna happen over the next 2 or 3 years or more.
What's gonna happen though?
You head down the roadways.
Yeah, so rather than end up having to do a large percentage,
I think as long as we maintain how we're working through this, I know there's gonna be some large expenses coming up here with the general fund. If we look at a truck or if we look at something, we need to set aside money over the next 2 or 3 years in anticipation.
I
But I don't see a huge increase in that general budget.
no, but you'll probably have another 20,000 in wages and insurance next year, then we're gonna be 90,000 down, and then the next year it's gonna be $110,000 down. At some point, the rate's gotta get raised
Yes, they have to
to
go back up. I mean,
to balance.
they were well over,
And I think it's easier on the taxpayers if you do it a little bit at a time to try to maintain. I'm not saying we have to raise it to pick up that 70,000, but a piece of it.
yeah.
Than to hit them 4 years from now with a 4% increase, way above our tax cap, because we're underwater and we gotta do it. Because that's what a lot of municipalities have done in the past as well, as I'm sure you remember hearing that.
Maintained, yes.
They overdraw, and then they can't beat the tax cap.
Well, that money.
That's my opinion.
Oh, I agree, yes. That, have to see what the 2% tax cap is for us.
It's increased,
Hmm?
it's increased this year.
Yeah, I know, but how much money that would be involved?
Okay, we'll look
I mean, I could, you know, think the tax rate here has been very reasonable over the last 3 or 4 years.
It has.
And we have lowered it from well over, I believe it was in the 450, 460 range at one point,
Mhm.
back 12 years ago.
You guys understand what I'm saying, I don't wanna be in that position.
I totally understand, the only thing I'm thinking is because we do have to raise the water rates,
Oh, I
I'd
know.
rather it not be hit them, two things hit them in the same year, if we can wait a year. That's my only concern is, you know, people don't have a lot of money, and I hate to have more taxes and higher taxes and increased water costs.
I know, in reality, you're gonna have probably increased water costs continuing.
It's gonna have to be
A little bit
increased.
each year.
I would guess it's gonna have to be, a rate adjustment for water is probably every 2 to 3 years. Because that
At least.
payment increases regardless of our share,
Mhm.
that increases about 4,000
Per year.
per year.
Mhm.
And then our share has to be figured out from that 4,000
Mhm.
and added in. So it's not a pretty picture,
No,
but we'll
no,
make do with what we have.
that's why I say if we could even pick up a small portion of that, a little itsy bitsy one. I agree with you, I understand.
Yeah, I know,
But-
we're on the same page.
But when you get your tax bill and it's gone up 0.5%, you know,
Yeah.
shit goes up.
It's the cost
You
of
get your
doing
tax bill
business.
and it's gone up 3%, you're going, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah. Well,
It just hurts
I
more.
do that quite often when I open up the neighboring
Yeah.
taxing entity and look at that tax bill.
That's my opinion, we'll work on that, but
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
a little piece is not gonna
Well,
hurt.
let's run some numbers
Yes,
and see.
The problem is with this water project, I don't see, and this is my opinion, I don't see one going up without the other. Because at some point, you're gonna get one, and I'm in total agreement with Tom, you're gonna get one that's maybe gonna level off at some point. But you're gonna have to do something with the other one. And if we're gonna have to do hits to the public and, you know, hey folks, we live in the village too, and, you know, we're paying the tax and the water rates too. And it hurts us just as much as it hurts everybody else.
Exactly.
I agree with Tom though, a small increment is a lot better than getting that all of a sudden now you're going, whoa, what happened?
well,
Well, I guess I think the immediate need here is an adjustment on the water rates.
yeah.
Right.
Well, first of all, we have to look at that as a separate business, yes, we need to
Yeah.
make that payment. So yes, that has to be done.
Yeah. You know, and I think folks understand that the price of things and the cost of living, and, I mean, I think this board has been very reasonable over the last 6 or 8 years about its water rates, about lowering the sewer rates, about keeping the tax rate maintained, but that's all good things that are gonna come to an end here. And if we can minimize the increases as much as possible,
Yeah, I
Then we
agree,
can-
need to minimize.
manage that, and I think folks can manage that as well. You know, with this increase, I would guess you're talking maybe $2 or $3 for increase in water per quarter, so it's less than $10 a year.
Mhm.
Most folks are saving that much money by not having to go out and buy salt and maintain their water softening equipment and the electricity costs and stuff like that. Plus, a couple of years ago, we did lower the sewer rates 20%, and that was a pretty good savings for most folks.
Mhm. And that we had no need to increase it this time.
And that may have to be reworked too, so. But, all right, so bring your ideas Monday and we'll hash it out. If that's okay?
That's fine.
All right. We have looked at, and it's not on your agenda, but I'll bring it up quickly. We have looked at the two one for investigation for the infiltration, that we received a $30,000 grant. Our part of this is 20%, so that will bring us up to 36,000. I have an estimate or a bid here from Barton and LaJudas, and the bid is for $39,400, but this is just for the initial phases that we paid for already. The initial study that we paid for, I think it was $1,600. This is beyond that initial phase. This is the project understanding the scope of work, what they need to do this I&I study. That they essentially wrote the grant for this, for the 30,000. Well, we've been doing some digging. Mary's been doing some digging, and we've, because it's above the $35,000 threshold, we've got to put this out to bid.
Oh, we do, even though it's a $30,000 grant?
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't matter where you get the money. You know, it could be taxes, it could be a grant, it could be a gift.
I remember when I was looking at these projects that we're doing in here, I remember that.
So we've got to put that out, at least what's the term I'm looking for here? Beyond the infiltration study, how the work is going to be done. Now, as far as, and I gave you the wrong figure, I'm sorry. As far as the blower project goes, we received a proposal to provide design, bidding, and construction phase services for the blower upgrades at the Village of Champlain wastewater treatment facility. Now, we all understand that those blowers will have to go out to bid. You're talking a significant amount of money. They will all have to go out to bid, but that is done by the engineering firm that we retain.
Okay.
Where this comes in is we may have to put out a request for bids to solicit proposals from other engineering firms, as well as having them put out a request for bid to different blower companies to bid on this project.
Wait a minute, say that again?
Well, what we have is that we have a proposal from one engineering firm.
Right,
It is above the $35,000 threshold
okay,
by $5,400.
yeah,
No, $4,400. We know that whoever the engineering firm is that we retain to do this study, this proposal for design, bidding, and construction services, I think, and Mary's been doing the research here as well as Juanita, I think this has to be, we're gonna have to put this and ask for a request for proposal for engineering firms
For the project.
for the project.
okay.
We have got this because they were interested in doing this project, obviously, as an engineering firm. And I went on the basis of looking at what they had to offer. I think now we need to get at least 2 more engineering firms involved to put a bid on this job. As far as creating a design and the construction, as well as securing bids from different blower companies. I mean, we have one, we got a pretty good idea through this proposal, what this is going to cost. It's just that it hasn't been put out to bid, and
So we have to put out the bid, and they would have to decide if that's gonna be their bid proposal or not.
right, and we have to look for a bid proposal from at least 2 other engineering firms, which will delay the process a bit. I think it'll get done this year, but it'll put us behind a month or so, maybe 2. But I have made no promises, I have made no guarantees, I have made no inferences that this particular company would be in the forefront of this. They have done this work knowing that this is what we need and this is what we require, and they propose it. So I can either call and request a proposal from other engineering firms, and I believe, and we were talking about this, I believe somewhere, I got a proposal from another engineering firm. I can't find it. It must be somewhere in the 1600,
But it's probably outdated, it's probably a while ago.
well, it could be, but at least I can call them and say, update this.
I didn't see it last, so.
Well,
Yeah, but do you have to advertise it?
yeah, I'm thinking that.
Request
That's what I was
proposal in
thinking.
paper.
We'll have to go that route. I mean, advertise it or call them. We've done that in
I
the
think you
past.
have to advertise it.
Yeah, I think it has to be
Oh,
advertised in
we
the
can do
paper.
that. I just wanted
You
to
can call
update
people
you
and
as to
make
where
sure.
we
So
are
I
with
think,
that.
I think,
No.
Where as well.
I think that's correct, I think what we need to do is advertise it, and maybe,
Both of them.
maybe we might wanna just let these folks know why we're doing it, and,
They
Well, I'm
should
sure
know,
they'll
too.
see it.
They should know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let them ask if, you know, they wanna resubmit,
This- Yeah, this is not their first rodeo,
no,
so,
okay,
just so you know.
yep,
And if you want copies of this, I'll be more than happy to make full copies of this.
I just asked Juanita for them, for
Okay.
copies, because Tom and I don't have that.
All right, very good.
thanks.
My apologies. All right, the next item is a standard workday resolution, which involves 3 of our personnel, Kim, Juanita, and Mike. Village of Champlain standard workday and reporting resolution. Be it resolved that the Village of Champlain hereby establishes the following as standard work days for elected and appointed officials, and will report the following days worked to the New York State and local employees retirement system based on the record of activities maintained and submitted by these officials to the clerk of this body. We have 3. We have trustee Tremblay, clerk treasurer Munoz, and superintendent of public works, Mr. Joliker. I need a motion to approve this,
So move.
and I need a second
Second.
to approve the standard workday and reporting resolution. I'm not gonna read the bottom. You can read the bottom if you so desire. I just like the whole part about, I have hereunto set my hand and the seal of the Village of Champlain. Okay,
That's really
everyone's happy about this, no discussion? Have a roll call, please.
Trustee Trombley,
Because it's concerning me,
Yeah, you can
You
say
have
it.
to
I'm
abstain.
gonna abstain from it.
Trustee McFetrich,
Aye.
Trustee Trombley,
Aye,
Mayor Martin.
Aye. All right,
On that note,
let's see.
you will need to redo your.
I have
gave
it.
to her.
Youth Rec Program. Uh, We have been in discussion and about the youth program. As was mentioned before, I have not heard from St. Mary's as of yet, and I have not heard from my inquiry from the owner of the Champlain Elementary School. I know he was dealing with some personal family health issues, so he was, I will call him this week to see if there has been any consideration being given here. We still have time. The rec Youth Commission through the town is going to send out the applications or the registration forms as if we were all together and doing this together. And then we can work out schedules and we can work out our share of the payment and we can work out whatever is necessary as we get into this a bit further. But
Okay.
we wanted we wanted the paperwork to go out for the kids to see what kind of response we had. And I believe that they were going to schedule this baseball and softball and soccer. Were they gonna schedule them here at our field?
No, not yet.
Anticipated field, not yet.
The
So
only
we can
thing
make
we-
that change.
Well,
The only one is T-ball.
yeah, we have offered our playground area in the back for T-ball. Because that won't need much work on it.
So there's a few things still left to be ironed out, but I think it'll all work, and especially for the kids. I hate to see the program lapse,
No, definitely not.
you know, and not have the kids involved.
No.
But we do need to generate some numbers. And I think if we can have playing fields here in Champlain or in Perry's Mills, and, you know, and combine them, I think it'll be so much easier for our kids to ride their bikes or walk than it will be to try to get rides to Rouse's Point. So we'll go on that premise that we will work to get the numbers increased, see how many teams, if we can field a team or two or three or four, and then go from there.
Mhm.
If we don't, if we only have 4 or 5 kids that sign up for pony baseball or whatever, they can be included in the Rouse's Point teams, am I right?
Yes, but those teams may be playing on our fields. It's
Yeah.
not-
But that's okay.
We have not really reached a decision or consensus on the upkeep of the fields. Let's put it that way. We're gonna all put together a budget, including the new guy, in Rouse's Point,
The administrator.
the new administrator, and then, see what he says about the cost of the upkeep of the fields, and then we're going to continue to try to get fields in Perry's Mills and in the village here.
Mhm.
And then we'll see how we divvy things up.
We have a meeting there, 19th,
Yeah?
9:30. Let's get up early, Jesus.
So a big day.
Mhm.
Got a ton of stuff on the 19th.
Okay, so, all right, budget workshop, May 19th, 6 o'clock, budget here, or public hearing, April 2nd at 7 o'clock. You got the budget papers and the water rate changes, stuff like that, that you can look at, and we will have further discussions on that, hopefully by Monday. And we can act on this too, if we get a excavation monitoring proposal from ATL, as well as a remedial work plan. I think that's enough for tonight, unless you have other things that you would like to discuss.
Yep, I'm good. All right.
Okay. Have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.